Hey guys, welcome to Joy Life Center. It's your life coach, Andrea Jackson. We're going to jump right in. We're going to talk about some dangerous emotions, some compulsive emotions. So we have some people waiting, so we're going to jump right on in. Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome. Oh my goodness. See that in my background? Oh, little my office supplies all in my background. Good morning, everyone. All right, I see we're on. We have our audio connected and we're all on mute. So good morning to you guys. Just want to say today, we're going to talk about some compulsive behaviors. You know, when we talk about changing behaviors so that we can be in better control and that we can live our best lives and make better decisions for ourselves, one thing that we recognize is that there are some behaviors that we have that because we've operated in this behavior for so long, there's some other behaviors that may have added to them or branched because of them. And there's some behaviors that maybe we haven't identified, we haven't really noticed. So one of the things that we're going to do today, we're going to try to take a look at our compulsive behaviors. So I want you to have an open mind today. I want you to have an open mind because sometimes we'll hear one word and say, oh, well, I don't do that. You know, sometimes we hear the word of addiction and we say, oh, well, I've never drank or I've never done drugs, you know, and we don't realize that some of our everyday behaviors are addictive behaviors. So I'm so glad that you're here today. And we're going to take a look at that. And I want us to take some inventory on ourselves. And when I say that again, having an open mind to be able to look at ourselves, to examine ourselves, to see what exactly is inside of me so that I can identify these behaviors. So today, we won't be taking a look so much on what the emotional self is, but the behaviors that comes about possibly from our internal world. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at our behaviors. We're going to see where, because since we're looking to change some of our unhealthy behaviors, sometimes we notice that these unhealthy behaviors switch into another behavior. So we want to cut that off right there at the tail before it really starts messing with our lives as the old behavior did. So what we're going to do first is we're going to check in and we're going to see how you're doing, how you're feeling, what's your mental health looking like today. So I believe that Miss Susu was the first caller. So we're going to start with Miss Susu. Good morning, Miss Susu. Go ahead and check in with us, please.
Good morning, Miss Jackson, and all those that are on the line. I am having a great day. I started off with my exercise. Mental state is good. I feel good, enjoying the sunshine and the anticipation of what I can get from this class. God bless.
God bless you. Thank you so much, Miss Susu. You sound great. Miss Bianca, good morning. Go ahead and check in with us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm doing well. Better state is in a good place. Um, excited about today, and excited about what we're going to learn on today, and anticipating growth. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Well, I am so glad to hear each and every one of you on this line. You sound wonderful. And I'm so grateful for that because guess what? We can be wonderful on the inside and the out, but we have to give attention to what's brewing inside of us. Sister Lupe, good morning. You want to go ahead and check in?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm doing well. I don't know. I guess I'm feeling under the weather again. So,
Oh, no.
yeah, I know, right? So I'm just made me some home remedy teas and some, I went to the farmer's market and got me a big old jar of buckwheat honey. It's so
Oh, wow.
delicious.
Really?
I love, yes, when I get sick or my kids get sick, my favorite part is doing some organic cough syrup and tea. It's just delicious. So yeah, I'm a little under the weather, but I'm enjoying my tea.
Oh, wow. I'm gonna have to get that some of those recipes from you. But buckwheat honey, I don't even know if I've heard of that. Wow, I'm gonna look for that. Can you only get it at organic whole food places? Or do they sell it like in your commercial Ralph's or Kroger's or Food for Less?
I'm not sure, but one thing I noticed when I go to the farmer markets, the fruit and the honey taste so different. Once you go organic, it's hard to go back. So I I haven't seen buckwheat. They have different brands, but buckwheat's more for like medicated.
Oh,
Not it doesn't have medication, but it's
in it,
more
yeah.
recommended, like it's healthier.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the only place I've actually seen it, in the people that have their own business, they
You muted yourself, Sister Lupe, or were you done?
yeah, I was done.
It
I
seemed like you
apologize.
went out
I'm
right
learning
in
how
the
to
midst of your
finish.
sentence.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure they might have some at the Whole Foods. But there's always a farmers market around your area. I noticed that in every city they have.
Mhm.
Almost every city. I'm not sure, but they have a Whole Foods, and I mean a farmers market, and
Mhm.
they accept food stamps with it.
What? Good to
Yeah, yeah.
know.
So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
once you try that honey, I'm telling you. And right now, since because of the variants and COVID and whatnot, people are now last. Before it used to be what, 2 weeks. Now it's like 2 months,
Wow.
and sometimes even longer. So instead of, especially because I got little ones, instead of giving them medicine every single day for 2 months, I'd
Right.
rather just give them, some organic stuff that's I searched up that's actually um, or you know healthier. I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
I like that. I like that. And yes, I made a note to myself. Farmers market is such a confirmation. My daughter was just talking about going to farmers market and she wanted us to go. So with you mentioning it today, that is definite confirmation. And isn't that awesome how God works in our lives? He always wants the best for us and he knows how to speak to us to get us to that next place. Something as simple as going to farmers market. He wants us to do what's healthy for us and what's best for us to live our best lives. So I thank you so much for that, Sister Lupe. And just as God moved us here on this line to kind of take a look at ourselves, he's always by his Holy Spirit going to lead us into places that are healthy for us. Yes, some places are assigned places. Some places are destined places, but some places are for us to go just to build onto our next. So right now, this isn't your destiny, but this is you preparing for your destiny. And I just love that. So thank you so much, Sister Lupe. Today, again, we're going to be talking about compulsive behaviors. So we're going to jump right on in. So with the compulsive behaviors, we've identified some behaviors that we have that may not be so fitting for our lives. They're not as beneficial. I like how Paul says some things are lawful but not beneficial for us. So I'm trying to get this glare out of my eyes, out of my sights, guys. Sorry about that. But maybe I better move over a little bit. So one of the things that's not helping. So one of the things that we realize is that when we come together and we have these sorts of groups where we begin to identify, sorry if I'm making anyone seasick, if we want to identify, what's working for me and what's not working for me. Some behaviors we've become so routine in, the behaviors that we don't even identify that this is what's going on, that the behaviors are leading and guiding us rather than us choosing right behaviors, for right times. So one thing that we're here on this line to do is to break the back of that cycle, to break the back of it, because guess what? We want to live our own lives. We don't want to be guided by our behaviors. We want to choose what behaviors that we're going to walk in today. So therefore, we and the Holy Spirit are leading our lives. We yield our lives to the Holy Spirit. We don't want to yield our lives to these impulses, these behaviors that are driving us in the ground. So today I'm going to ask you a question or some questions. And my questions are basically not for yes or no, right or wrong, but for us to think. So one of the things that we want to find out is these behaviors. And I want you to, as I'm just blah, blah, blah talking, I want you to kind of think about what behaviors are driving my life out of control, and just take a moment to think about it, while I'm chatting. So I want you to think about those things. What behaviors is kind of driving my life out of control? Sometimes I'll give an example for myself. It's no secret that I'm a recovering addict. And there was a time when my addiction was the lead of my life. And I was moved, and everything that I did or said by that disease of addiction. And what happens is the addiction drives me, and I get in the back seat of my own life, and I let addiction stay at the wheel. And what a ride that was. So gratefully, by the power of God and many social services and programs and things like that, I gained my control back. And I'm living my best life. So now that I'm gaining my control back, I have to identify that disease of addiction takes me out of the control of my life. So therefore, I recognize that maybe some people can maybe have a drink, or maybe somebody can maybe have a little smoke. Somebody can party like it's 1999, get up, go to work, and never use again till the next New Year's Eve party. But I found out that even though maybe some people in my crowd could do that at the time, but I couldn't. So I had to make some decisions of life change. Sometimes you may find that eating sweets or overeating, if I eat after a such and such time, some behaviors, if I operate in anger, my life goes out of control. If I operate in promiscuity, my life goes out of control. What behavior have you identified in your life that kind of leads you rather than you leading it? So go ahead, unmute your phone and share if you thought of any yet.
Sister Lupe here. I would say one of my behaviors will be maybe when I don't put any boundaries, and I allow, just anybody to just befriend me, which I sometimes I'm in the mood to be friendly, and I notice that sometimes it's that's also something we got to be very aware of, is choosing our friends and our surroundings very wisely, people that we choose to entertain, because they do have an influential in your life, in my life. And we definitely have to be I have to protect my ear gates, because I don't, I befriend anybody, I don't discriminate. And I especially I become friends with the friend, the ones that don't have friends.
You said it right.
Because because they don't have any, and I feel bad, and then I realize why they don't, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, you know, and I'm still not that person. And even blocking certain people, I feel bad, and I was having a hard time blocking a certain person, and I'm like, but maybe I should explain, and then I'm like, you know what, today I choose to be selfish. I gotta look out for me. I gotta do what's
Right.
best for me. I don't gotta give everybody an explanation. I don't care if I did say I won't block you again. Um, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you know, everybody, sometimes we get caught up in the street code. Oh, my word, I give you my word, my word. But it's like sometimes that word has to be broken for, you
Yeah.
know, for the best of me. So I can't just let anybody in, especially while I'm still yet drawing closer to God, and I'm still trying to, you know, do his purpose and finding out what exactly it is that my purpose is.
Right.
I can't allow any distraction.
That's right. Oh my God, that's right. Thank you so much for that. I love that. I'm still trying to work on this glare. Forgive me for the motion sickness. I love that, Sister Lupe. Identifying, am I crooked, you guys? Identifying, you know, your boundaries when it comes to new friends or new associates, not allowing your feelings or your sympathy or your empathy for a person, or even maybe your need for friendships or their need for friendships, whatever it is, watching who you place in your personal circle, in your personal life. I love that, because that is a behavior that everybody in the whole wide world should be mindful of. So I really thank you for bringing that up, because sometimes we can bring people into our life that will bring our lives back into that state of being out of control. So boundaries. One of her compulsive behaviors is letting unhealthy people back into our life. So awesome. I love that. Anybody else, please?
Can I add one more thing? I'm sorry,
Yes.
I don't mean to hold on to the mic.
No, hold
um,
it.
um, another thing is that you know, I'm an imperfect person, and God and people have graced me out numerous times.
Mhm.
So I tend to do that too,
Oh,
especially you know, brothers and sisters in Christ.
right.
I try to be there, but I'm drawing a line on that too, and blocking people of Christ too. Like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, like we've been down this road, and I know you need to talk to me. However, now I see sometimes these conversations go left.
Yeah.
So maybe we should bring in a mediator. And
Yeah.
where people might think I'm extreme, I'm too much, it's okay, because at the end of the day, I'm protecting me. Amen.
Wow. Oh my God, Sister Lupe, those words were just so warming to my whole being, because
Is this
these
class? Is this class? Is this class?
oh my God. That felt so good just hearing you say that, because that's the thing. We have to protect ourselves. We cannot just be led by anyone, whether they are Christians, whether they're Muslims, whether they're Buddhists, whether they go to our church, whether they go to our supermarket down the street, whether they're members of our own family. Like the Bible says, a man's woes are in their own household. So some of the people that draw us into this craziness is right there in our own household, right in our private and personal lives. So I love that. Thank you so much. I love that. Setting those boundaries. I'm not saying I'm perfect and you're imperfect and you're imperfect. No, I'm not saying that at all, she said. But recognizing what's good and what's not so good for me, and not being lured or drawn or by reasons of whatever those reasons are, I'm going to allow you to disrupt my peace. I have to protect my peace. I have to embrace my peace. Thank you so much. I love that. I'm so glad that you chimed in to say that again, to say that second part. Thank you so much. Anyone else? What are some behaviors that you see is driving your life out of control? Still thinking?
Hey, Susu. Yeah,
Hey.
all right. I'm in agreement with Sister Lupe.
Yeah.
It's my boundaries, you know. I've learned, like I say, learn from the classes and just life showing up that I cannot allow people to dictate my life, my time, you know. That's the thing. I got to learn not to be so available, even though I may be available, you know.
Yes.
Because like I said, you know, I don't honor my time, and nobody else is going to honor it either, you know. So
Yes.
my thing is learning to say no. I'm not available, not necessarily no, but I'm not available now. That
Yeah.
is so hard sometimes, you know. When I am available, you know. But, but that's one of the things, you know, boundaries for me, you know, and
Yes.
you know, because I put myself out, you know, something that I could be doing, I was doing, but no, you know, I've lived a while, so they needed it. You know, I want them to have a good life too. But now I'm learning I want a good life too. I want to experience something the same. So it's boundaries for me, you know, not letting people occupy all my time or most of my time when they want to. Amen.
Amen. Oh my God, you guys I'm just feeling you, and I'm loving the healthiness of what I'm hearing from you guys. And I want to say, Miss Susu, also, it's not so much when you say, I'm not available. That's excellent. That's wonderful to say, because see, sometimes although you may look at it, well, I am available, you're looking at it in time. I'm available in time, so I can go and run and do that with them or for them. But what happens is sometimes I'm not available to you because I'm not available for the interruption of my peace. I'm not available to be riled today. I'm not available to be discomforted, excuse me. I'm not available for that. So sometimes, like I tell people, sometimes I may not be available for a phone call because I get a lot of, I called you and you didn't answer your phone. Like I'm just sitting at my phone saying, oh, I'm not going to answer you. I'm not going to answer you, but sometimes I'm just not available. Sometimes it's not because I'm taking care of my husband or feeding my family. Sometimes it's because I'm not mentally available. When I pick up that phone, I don't know if it's going to be, oh, I stubbed my toe. Could you agree with me in prayer that my toenail grow back? Or if it's going to be, you know what, I just found out that my husband has been molesting my child and I don't know what to do. I need intervention. So I need to be mentally available. I need to be emotionally available. Maybe me and my husband just had a disagreement and I'm not emotionally available for someone else, So, Miss Susu, I love what you just said. I'm not available. But also broaden that in your own mind, because you may start having that conflict and feeling guilty. Well, I am available. I could help them out, but not just in time. Am I available at mind for you? Because some people take more energy than others. Some people I can help and there'll be some appreciation, some gratitude, and I can leave and I can feel like I really helped someone. I can feel productive. I can feel the outcome of what I feel is not my life being out of control. But when I'm allowing somebody to cause me to spin out just for the sake of I'm available in time, but I'm not available emotionally, then what happens is my life becomes out of control because I've done something for someone else against my own peace. And so now my life is spinning out of control, even if it's just my day or my moment that's spinning out of control, because these moments and days is what makes up our life. So if the moment is spun out of control, because now I'm frustrated about what happened, now it ended unwell, there was a terrible outcome, or they said something, or they were disrespectful, or whatever it is that the people that you encounter with the people that you assist, sometimes we have to be mindful to take a look at, am I available? So I love how you said that. Thank you so much, Miss Susu. That was awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Miss Bianca, did you want to share something? Have you noticed what behavior drives your life out of control?
I gotta get my bike off real quick, because when I don't get my bike off real quick, Everybody say what I want to say.
So
I
now you
listen,
sound like a copycat.
and now I sound like a copycat, and I don't want to sound like that. I really, really don't want to sound like that. But the truth of the matter is,
Yeah.
the truth of the matter is, my time, my availability,
Yes.
my mental state,
Yes.
those are the things that's very, very important. And when I allow them to be challenged, when I allow it to be challenged, and it will throw off, just like you said, my moments.
Yes.
You know, it throw my moments off, and those moments could turn into days.
Yes.
You know, and sure, if you're not careful, it'll be some years involved in those. It started
Absolutely.
off as just a moment.
Absolutely.
It started off as just a moment.
Yeah.
But I like what you said. I don't have a problem with when it comes to, you know, being available for people. Especially when I can feel just as refreshed as I did when I went on there, to
Yes.
be to encourage somebody, and I feel like I'm just so drained out, because there's been situations where I've been talking and I've been so drained that I don't even have the for myself or my family.
Ooh, my. Yes.
So I don't have no oil to give when it's really necessary.
Wow.
And those that really need it and appreciate it, I don't have it to give.
Yes. Oh my.
There have been times I've been on the phone and I've been talking to this one, that one, this one, or whoever. And my children will be wanting to talk to me.
Yes.
And all my children, they grown now, but they will be wanting to talk to me. They got this one or that one going on in their life. And by the time I hang up, and I'm like, trying to get myself together, because they know they mama, you know, but I'm trying to get myself back together so when they do look up on me, they won't see the tiredness or the weariness on my face. And I'm just trying to really press through this.
Yeah.
And then with another thing with that, when you already have health issues,
Yes. Oh
you
wow.
know, and you allow those situations to be overwhelming and bear down on you, then you also allow it to mess around with your organs and all those kind of things too, because you stress, you tired, the organs are stressed and tired also.
That's right.
So I had to learn, and yet learning. Just like you said, I might be available physically, but emotionally, am I available? Is my mental state ready to take on whatever it may be that somebody want to call and say, or want to do, or whatever the situation may be? So learning how to say, you know what, I can't do that right now. Or learning how to say, you know what, we're going to have to postpone this one until another time. Or if I'm already on the phone, I have my clock set.
Okay.
And I can only give you this amount of time.
Yes.
And after that, I'm going to have to close it down.
Yes.
Because there's some that like to go on and on and on and on and on and on.
Yes.
You know, so I have to protect myself, my peace, my health, my sanity. I have to protect all of that, because at the end of the day, if I don't protect it, who will? Thank you.
Thank you for dropping that bomb on us. If I don't protect me and my peace, who will? You know, I thank you for sharing that, Bianca. Each of you guys just so awesomely, even though, like you said, you may have shared in about the same thing, but it was all from a different approach, and it was so amazing. It was so wonderful. Now, understand the principle that we live by, you know, the principle of the word of God tells us some plant, some water, and God himself will give the increase.
That's
And
been my problem.
okay,
I want
excellent.
I want to plant. I want to water. I want to give the increase. I want to be the Messiah. I want to do all those things. And then I'm sitting somewhere with my tongue hanging out of my mouth because I'm exhausted. So yeah, I've been there. Wore me out. Wore me out. Because I want to get you where you're going. I
Yes.
just gotta I want to get you all the way there. All the way. It's my job to get you there. It's my job, my job, my job. But if I do all that, then I I teach them not to really, lean more so on me than to
Okay,
lean on God, who is the author and the finisher of their faith.
that's right.
So, yeah.
That's right. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that piece, Bianca, because that's what happens sometimes. There's what's called the Messiah syndrome. It's a clinical diagnosis called the Messiah syndrome, where it's not cognitively that you want to be God, although some people are at that severity level with that syndrome where they actually want to be God. But some of us take on the mindset, I want to help this person. I want to do that. I want to increase that. I want to change their life. We forget that they have a process. And sometimes we have to be reminded of that, even with our children, because I want to fix everything about my child right now, today. If he's getting bad grades, if he's not talking correctly, if he's not speaking with proper pronouns, if he's not bowing when he's supposed to bow, and curtsy when he's supposed to curtsy. I want to fix all that right now today. Don't mess it up again, this, that, and the other. But we forget that life is a process. And this is why in the word, it tells us that some people plant, others water, but it's God that give the increase. So we have to remember that we need to embrace our peace. God says, be not to be anxious, because sometimes we're our anxiety to help that person, and we're wrestling with a mindset that they haven't even grown into yet. Your part is to plant. Sometimes we're wrestling with that mindset. We're wrestling, you're trying to convince a person what to do with their life. And who feels the weight and the stress? We do. We're messing our own peace. Look, you can't hear me right now. You can't accept the information I'm saying. You can't understand what peace I'm trying to bring to the table. So now I've planted that seed, or I've either watered that seed. It's my time to bow out gracefully and let God carry on. Guys, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm going to ask a question, and I thank you for sharing that. Have you noticed yourself behaving excessively, maybe in some other areas? Because what happens sometimes is when we start becoming abstinent of the behaviors that we know are unhealthy for us, what happens is that same energy to do those behaviors internally tries to come out in another way. So just like you guys talked about, you may not be operating in the same behavior that was proven unhealthy for your life. You might be walking in your recovery, but now you're noticing, now you're noticing that behavior coming out in your boundaries. You might be noticing that behavior coming out, in your assisting. You may find it coming out in other ways. So we want to identify what those other ways are. So I'm going to read some suggestions here, and then I'm going to ask you which one of these are yours, or maybe if you've noticed something else that your life is becoming out of control with. So, have you noticed yourself behaving excessively, maybe working all the time, putting your energy into working all the time, or maybe abusing drugs? Sometimes because we're trying to stop this, we start now using drugs or drinking, or maybe vaping, or something that we wasn't doing before, but that's the compulsion trying to now move over in another frame, in another area of our life. Also, drinking too much caffeine, you start noticing your caffeine intake increase, or you're smoking more cigarettes, or you're eating foods that are high in sugar. Maybe you're exercising to the extreme. That's definitely not me. Maybe you're gambling now, and your compulsiveness is showing itself in that gambling. You know, sometimes we like, oh, I don't gamble, I don't shoot craps or things like that. But maybe your scratch off purchases, you know, maybe even in your conversations, bet that, you know, stuff like that. Maybe you're spending too much money. You notice that it happens in that area. Or you're engaging in compulsive sexual activities. You know, I have a discussion, a topic of discussion that we're going to talk about one day, if we haven't already, where we talk about sexual recovery. You know, whether we're having impulsive sex or intimate sex, you know, because sometimes our compulsion, you know, can happen. And please don't start stoning me from because of the S word. Because this is something that we also need to be mindful of, even in your marriages, you know, in your dating process, you know, even because I know most of the people on the line currently is in their celibacy, but in for maybe others that are not, excuse me, we find that unhealthy cycle, you know, in our sexual activities. And even if you are in your celibate state, it would be a very good time to talk about it, so that you don't go back to more impulsive sexual behaviors. Also, maybe even in compulsively masturbating, you know, maybe someone is trying to maintain their celibacy, but you cannot control your masturbating. So sometimes that excessiveness is going off into other directions. So I wanted to see, is any of those strike anyone as far as excessive behaviors that you've identified, that you're in recovery for your unhealthy behavior, but you're starting to notice that I'm doing more of this now, or I'm doing more of that. Please go ahead, unmute your phone and share.
Sister Lupe here. I would say this is something I've always had a problem actually. But now that I think it's like it's called like having an addictive behavior.
Okay.
An addict mind.
Mhm.
I would say shopping, especially
Okay.
now with all the sales,
Yeah.
you know, and now that I have a credit card, you know, you don't gotta pay it right then and there. And yeah, that could go to the extreme where
Yeah.
that's the very reason why I never got a credit card, because I know myself.
Yeah.
And now that I did get one, I did go there. I went to the extreme now. So now it's done. So not adding more to that credit card, just paying off for the next 2 years, whatever I gotta pay. But yeah, that's not bad. It do good. I know I gotta block some folks. I gotta not apply for a credit card. I gotta not buy a car off the dealer because you know I already know like I've messed up my credit in the past and it's still messed up. But so that's something that I really need to work on, just responsibility, paying my bills on time, not letting them, you know, disconnect my cable or nothing. Have a budget, having a system, a calendar, and not spending more than I make. Amen.
Amen. I love that. Bringing it back under control. I love that. Being responsible. And you know, even with that credit card, it can help your credit long as you don't go over 30% utilization of it. And just pay it on time. Even if you only pay the minimum amount, and maybe do another payment that's that's larger a little later on in the month. But as long as you make that, don't be late, make that minimum, it'll actually help your credit. It'll help it build, because it'll show that you do utilize credit and you are responsible with it and you pay your bills on time. So that's amazing. But thank you for that, because you're absolutely right. That overspending. And I like how she said, I know myself and I know this could be a problem. Anybody else? Have you noticed where your behaviors have or could become excessive?
You know, if I had some money, yeah. If I had some money, I think I would shop. But the thing about with me, I would shop. I very very seldom buy me anything. I would just be shopping for everybody, probably in the whole wide world. That's probably why I don't have a lot. But yeah, um, I think I'm contradicting myself because again, I always say if I had money too, that people wouldn't probably know I had it because I'll still be, that little thrifty shopper too. So maybe I'm just contradicting myself at this time. But it just sounds good to have some money and be able to go shopping and to have a credit card in this day and time. That just sounds so good to me. But maybe there's some other things that I really could chime in. But I just wanted to say that.
So it would be nice, huh? Anyone else? Where have you noticed that your life has or can kind of gone into a behavior that's become excessive? Miss Susu, did you want to share?
Okay, I was thinking, I don't have no problem with the credit card or anything like that, but mine, like I say, with the enabling, me, I would probably go to the food though. I just love to eat food. And if I'm sitting and waiting on you, okay, so I know we're gonna have some food later on. But my thing is the eating thing. I got a bad habit on eating. And so if I'm dealing with you, but if I'm occupying my time or something, I really don't think about it. But it's like a kind of idle, like when I'm there waiting on someone else, and then knowing they're gonna get some food too afterwards. So hey, mine is the food that draw me, sometimes. Make me go on, do whatever they need to have done because I know gonna be some food. So I'm working on it though. I'm working on it.
That's excellent. That's an excellent identification. Overeating. That's something that, and I won't say overeating, although that can be, but the excessiveness, sometimes not overeating, just eating, excessively want to eat. It can directly or indirectly turn into overeating, of course. But like you said, maybe it's not overeating, it's just excessively wanting to eat, having that as the goal at the end of the rainbow. The pot of gold is there's a meal or there's food, so again, not excessively overeating, but excessive preoccupation of eating. So thank you for that. That's amazing, because we have to identify some of these things. Now, what I want to ask now, what we have identified that has or could kind of become excessive, what have we done so far to try to overcome this compulsion? What is it that we've tried to do so far to help put that or bring that back under control? Go ahead and unmute your phone and share.
I'm just making myself not available as much as I were.
Okay.
So that would help me because I would be doing other things, for me, So it's just making myself available. I mean, not making myself available, but not making myself available to be there at the beck and call.
Right.
And that would help me not to, because sometimes all I do was drink a tea or something because I'm not going to fix it. Well, sometimes I do fix food for myself or something, but if it's not there, nobody's going to get it for me. I just have a tea or something, which is not good either, Cause I don't know, I just sometimes I don't like to cook for myself. So, I don't mind cooking for others. But cooking for one is hard, So hey, I can get me some at the restaurant or something like that. But then I don't want to go there. The line's long, just procrastinating. So, but yeah, that was it.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. That's awesome. It's hard, like you said, cooking for one. But like you say, if I don't take care of myself and eating what I need to eat to satisfy me, maybe my that over preoccupation of wanting to eat as an outcome, they're going to feed me or things like that, maybe that can start diminishing. But maybe you could think about maybe some meal preps or something, make one dish meal preps so that you could just keep them in the refrigerator and throw them in the microwave when you need to, just as a thought,
Yeah, I have done that also. Like I cook a pot of beans, put them in individual bags, put them in the freezer, and I eat until it's gone, like that. So yeah, that's a good one there too. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, but even make a meal, things that you like. And I know, like you said, beans, but something maybe will just take a day to just cook, maybe cook whatever it is you like, pork steaks or beans or collard greens, yams, fish, whatever it is that you like. Fish don't hold up too well. But whatever it is that you like, and just get some of those little they have like little meal prep trays,
Right.
and make yourself a different meal, because that sameness, I'm gonna eat these pot of beans until they're gone. That's it turned into like a to-do list after a while. You're not enjoying your food. So quite naturally, your brain is like, I want something else. Come on, let's get some fish. Let's get some ice cream. Let's get some. I'm tired. I don't want to see another bean. But you committed to finishing that bag of
Right.
beans.
Okay.
So maybe take a day. Do you like cooking?
I like cooking for others.
Okay.
I don't like cooking for myself.
Well, take a day to cook for others, and but cook for them your favorites. And then as you're bagging some up for them, put some in a meal prep tray for yourself. Something different, a different meal a day. If you're fixing somebody else steak and lobster, then put you a tray away for steak and lobster. If you
None of that.
none of that.
But I
Whatever it is.
right, I got the idea. I got what you're saying. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Excellent. So all I'm saying, guys, is that whatever our excessive behaviors are, the first thing we have to do is identify them. And if we identify them, then we can help do something about it before it become excessive. Whether it's to eat before, whether it's to whatever it is, we figure out our own medicine after a while. Or if we don't, we talk to somebody and say, you know what, this is a problem. This is becoming excessive. So that's how come I want to know, what changes have you made so far identifying these excessive behaviors? What changes have you made so far to now curtail or deal with those excessive behaviors? Anyone, go ahead, unmute your phone and share.
So what could you say that not eating a lot? Could you say that could be excessive?
It could be, yeah.
I'm not anorexia or the other one, but there are days when I don't eat a lot, you know. Um, and then I struggle with my weight, but then, on the flip side of that, well, if you're not eating like you're supposed to, I mean, how much weight you think you're really going to gain?
Okay.
What I've started to do is I make sure now, and this ain't been a long period of time, but I make sure now that I eat every so many hours.
Okay.
Yeah, I make sure that I eat every maybe every 2 or 3 hours. So if I don't get 3 meals a day, like they like to say you should have. At least I can strive for at least 2 good meals a day.
Okay.
So, and for me, big portions of food, some days are good for me. I
Oh,
can sit down and eat a big portion of food, but there's some days where little, smaller portion is better for me,
mm,
where I can eat smaller portions at 12 o'clock and maybe another at 2 or something like that, whatever. But that's what I started to do. I started now to make sure I just eat every few hours. You
mhm,
know, it ain't got to be a big portion of food, but just something that's kind of well rounded, you
mhm.
know, so I can get the nutrients that I need inside my body
Yes.
every every day instead of every other day, every 2 or 3 days because of my appetite. So yeah, that's what I say.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, you don't hear too much about that, but it is a problem. And yes, I could deem it as excessive behaviors because if it wasn't, we wouldn't have, like you just said, the anorexia or the bulimia. We wouldn't have those conditions if it wasn't something that operated in excessiveness. So one thing that I would definitely encourage, go to the doctor, with everything, get your doctor's expertise. But I would say the same thing with Miss Susu, just on maybe the flip side of it. Hers is a preoccupation with eating, food being a comfort, food being a reward, food being a satisfaction. Yours is the opposite. Food is not a reward. It is not a solution. It is not a satisfaction. So for one, we have to change our thinking about these things. But I would also say do yourself a meal prep as well. Put you in there some high calorie foods that you can eat. And even if you just nibble on them, they're high calorie foods that will give you nutrition and add to your substance, and while you hopefully create or build an appetite, if there's nothing medically wrong. Sometimes it's in our psyche. Sometimes it's in our thinking, just like if a person, they don't want to take medicine, sometimes because of the way they're thinking, they'll have a problem being consistent on their medications, then sometimes ending up, having what do they call it? When you stop taking your medication, a resistance, your body develops a resistance to the medication because you stopped taking it. It was flowing and working the way it's supposed to, but because you've taken a holiday from your medication because of the way you're thinking, you don't want to. Our bodies respond the way our bodies respond, and sometimes it become resistant, and you notice that medication don't work like it used to. Well, the body said, okay, since the flow is stopped, we stop, and we block its power. It's in the makeup of our body that we don't interact with on a daily basis, but it happens. So I would suggest that you would maybe encourage doing some meal preps or something. And thank you guys so much. I don't know how I got into that. But I wanted to overall just share that there is always something else we could do when we find that our lives have become excessive in some ways. Behaviors have become excessive, and they're becoming excessive in ways that's taking our life out of control. We have to make some changes. We can't just sit back and allow this excessiveness to just control our life, whether it's not eating, whether it's eating, whether it's not monitoring our boundaries, regardless to what it is. If it's drinking, if it's smoking, if it's inappropriate texting, whatever the behavior is, my anger out of control, my enabling another person. If this thing is excessive and it's controlling me, then guess what? I'm not in control of it. That means that I jump into the back seat of my own life while I allow this excessive behavior to drive me around where it wants to. So I thank you so much for your sharing on that. Now, one of the things that we notice is when we begin to identify that we have when we have these excessive behaviors, what happens is sometimes when we stop one behavior, when we kind of get our place to a soundness of recovery, what happens is sometimes in our recovery, if we don't manage our recovery properly, what can happen is we can start doing one thing again. And when we start doing that one thing again, we start noticing that other things are connected to it that were bad. So if I start enabling again, maybe now as a direct result of that, I start becoming preoccupied in food again. And then maybe I start excessively eating sugar because I'm looking for a comfort food because of what's indirectly happening in my enabling, or my unhealthy relationships of people, friends and foes and family. I'm allowing them back in. I'm not monitoring my boundaries. So therefore, as a direct result of it, now I'm all discombobulated inside. And now I'm striking out with anger. Now I'm striking out. I'm being tempted to use again. I'm being tempted to I'm trying to go and work out healthily, but it's unsatisfactory to me. And my life becomes unsatisfactory, all because of something that I mentioned the other day that I'm going to mention today, and it's called the abstinence violation syndrome. It's like when my abstinence is broken, if I violate my abstinence with one of my old behaviors, then guess what? All of them can flood back in. This is why we got to stay at the helm of our recovery. We got to stay at the helm. I always tell this story when I talk about this. I had a family member long years ago that had just came out of jail or out of treatment or whatnot. And when I saw him, he was looking great. He was looking good. He was doing well. And I said, "Hey, you look good." I said, I would like to see you like this." He said, "Oh yeah, he said, I'm paying my tithes. I didn't quit smoking cigarettes. I didn't, stop drinking, stop doing cocaine. I stopped smoking Sherm." And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Next time I saw him, he had a little cup in his hand, and I said, "Hey, I thought you were," "Oh no, it's just this. It's just this. And I'm not even really doing that like that. I'm just enjoying the party. I'm just doing." He violated his own abstinence. And from that point, I watched him go down. Every time I saw him, there was an additional negative behavior that he picked up. He started back drinking. He started back smoking cigarettes. He started back smoking cocaine, PCP. And of course, he wasn't paying his tithes no more after all of that. So, and it took a whole long time, if ever, for him to pick himself back up. So that's just a little description on the abstinence violation syndrome. Have you ever noticed anything in your life that kind of flowed in that same cycle? Because we have to notice and recognize the cycles and the patterns of our life so that we can know how to stop a pattern or a cycle before it gets started. So what have you noticed, like the ABS, the abstinence violation syndrome? What have you noticed in your life that kind of flows in that way? Go ahead, unmute your phone and share. Have you noticed any patterns in your life? Destructive patterns that if I go here, this always happens. If I do that, oh, that always happens. What is the point that you've noticed in your life that when this happens, whether it's a behavior, a thought process, a person, a place, or a thing, that it always takes me back? I always violate my abstinence. Have you identified anything, this pattern in your life? Well, I'm going to let you think about it a little more because it's very important that we do acknowledge those patterns. Thank you, guys. Also, I want to ask you, are you making any major lifestyle changes? And if so, what are some of those changes? Because in order for us to live a life of recovery or abstinence or live a life that's more healthy, we have to do something. We can't just hope that the fairies come and sprinkle us with fairy dust, or like they say, if my ship comes in, what are you doing to contribute to your recovery?
I'm taking more time for myself, for one. I'm looking at my health a little better, doing things that could help me
Yeah.
in this age and taking more precautions as, like I said, body mechanics. You don't just stoop down, pick up whatever. You use your body mechanics. I'm just being more aware of my body, my mind, and and excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
and the people that I hang around with. I don't hang around with nobody no long period of time anyway, though. But like you say, your own personal friends or acquaintances and things,
Mm-hmm.
and not delete, but just don't be around where it's a whole lot of dysfunction and mess. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I can say set your boundaries and things. That's what I'm trying to do, striving for. And more self-talk to myself. This is me. I want a better life. I want to live life free. Excuse me. That's me.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Miss Susu. That sounds great. Sound like you have some measurable sets of principles in your life that you're living by, and some interventions that you are doing. So that's excellent. That's excellent. Anyone else?
I was going to say, also to make sure that my boundaries are set and they stay. They
Mhm.
stay. Um, they don't bow, they don't bend, they don't compromise, but they stand.
Mhm.
And also rearranging people
Mm.
in my life.
Yes.
Not Xing them all completely out, but
Mhm.
rearranging them that they don't. There's some that just can't be as close
Yeah.
as they may have been, and
Mhm.
being okay with doing that,
Okay.
because there was a time where that was one of the hardest things for me to do.
Mhm.
And I just know God is just angry with me because he said love his people, and I just went through a whole lot of things. But being okay knowing that that it's okay to rearrange them.
Mhm.
You know, my love is still my love, but you can't be as close to me as maybe you have been in the past.
Right.
Also, taking control over my mind.
Okay.
Also, not allow things to kind of just sit there and weigh on there, and I dwell on it, for hours and hours and hours and hours at a time, and before you know it, the whole day is gone.
Mhm.
But uh, truly, being an acceptance of things, being able to deal with what I can deal with, and
Mhm.
that I can't deal with, I can't deal with it, and being okay with that. It's all about me. I'm sorry. It's just all about me and being okay with me,
Yeah.
and not allow these things that I have in the past to be the thing that come really to break me,
Yes.
because one, the way I would think about it, you know, uh, or not having the full understanding, but going on what I do have,
Mhm.
and not maybe not asking, hey, uh, you know, if I move this person from here to over there, am I about the will of God or something? Instead of just taking it upon myself to I just know that, whatever. But anyway, those are the things. Thank you.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. And you also showed how your healthiness of thinking had to go through your way of thinking had to go through a process of healthiness. It had to go through its own fitness because, like you said, your way of thinking, because remember, our belief systems is what's going to guide us. And I'm not talking about religion right now. I'm not talking about your beliefs spiritually, whether in God or not in God. But what I'm saying is anything that you believe, if I believe this chair can hold me when I sit myself down in it, then guess what? It's going to govern my thought of how that chair is going to hold me is going to govern how I sit down or if I even sit down. So it's just like you said, my thought was I had to love everyone, meaning I had to bring everyone into my personal space. So now when you were challenged with, okay, we got to put some boundaries because some people can't go in your personal space. Some people are going to have to be repositioned into your public space. Your mind had to undergo a whole challenge of, oh my God, God is going to be so mad at me if I do that. I can't do that. And sometimes just getting into that acceptance of mind, that takes time within itself, changing your belief system, seeing if my belief system should be changed or should what you're telling me be judged as a lie, so having to go through that balance. But now I'm hearing you guys saying, I had to get to that point where it was okay. I recognize that I don't have to embrace everyone with the same intensity of embracing my love, because everyone can't handle my love, and I can't handle everyone's abilities, everyone's shortcomings, everyone's issues, everyone's pain. I can't handle where they are with it in their process. But I wanted to bring this out really quickly so that we can move on, because I heard both you and Miss Susu say, I'm repositioning people and I'm learning to put people in a different place so that my peace or that my life isn't disrupted. But I also heard the correction. I heard Miss Susu said, well, I have to delete something. Then she corrected herself and said, not delete, but reposition. And I heard Miss Bianca say the same thing, but in a different terminology, and not just remove people, but reposition them. So I also want to challenge you guys to just keep healing, because there are some people that you do have to remove, even if it's just for this time. You might have to remove them. Case in point, I had a situation where usually in my healthiness of recovery, as we grow healthier, as you all know, have noticed or will notice, there's some relationships that you don't have to say no more, or I'm doing something different, I can't hang with you anymore. There's some relationships you don't have to say that. They just grow apart because your life becomes different. You don't do the same thing. And so some of the people that notice you don't do the same thing, they don't come around as much. They don't invite you to the parties as much. Or even you don't want to go to the parties. You decline the parties because that's not your stilio anymore. So we find that in that some relationships just kind of grow apart. Now, and you don't have the responsibility or the accountability to say, hey, it's over. But that was something that was going on in my life, in my recovery period, that relationships were just automatically broken. I move over into a healthier place. I started meeting more healthier, like-minded people. And, even though I still love some of those people, I still care. But one thing, as we keep going into healing and healthy mindedness, our desires and our appetites, what we see and our aspirations begin to change, and we start reaching for them. But I was challenged with something a few years ago where I had to tell someone not to reposition. I love you, maybe we can kick it later, this, that, and the other. But I had to cut someone from my life. I had to just tell someone, you know what, as much as I love and respect you, I see that I can't help you. You can't help me. It's our relationship is toxic. It's toxic. There's some things that just don't mix like bleach and Ajax. It's toxic. So I'm not going to try to put one on one side of the toilet bowl and the other on the other side of the toilet bowl. I'm not going to try to reposition you. I just have to X the use of you out together. So I just wanted to challenge you to, when you say that, because maybe there comes a times that some people are so unhealthy for you and they refuse to become a more suitable position in your life, that you will have to just kind of X out and be okay with that. I just wanted to share that. And because our time is getting short, I'm gonna forego some of these questions because I want us to kind of get to some meat of the matter. Because I'm going to say, maybe you can ask yourself these questions. Do you find yourself being uncomfortable in making these changes, these things that you're doing? Are you finding yourselves being more uncomfortable, becoming more uncomfortable while you're making the changes? Or if you find yourself becoming less uncomfortable, the main thing is you find the discomfort in the midst, because if you're not uncomfortable, you're not making change. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because whenever we push ourselves into change, whether you're losing weight, gaining weight, whether you're eating right, whether you're trying your boundaries, the change from the old to the new, there's going to be some resistance. So that the resistance is going to come forth in discomfort. And this is how come sometimes that abstinence violation syndrome can kick in, and we can start doing something else. Well, I'm not doing that anymore, but I'm doing a whole bunch of this. So that's why we have to continue to examine ourselves and re-examine ourselves and identify what we need to do to continue the path of recovery and healthiness. And whatever the changes are that we need to make, let's make them. So one of the things that I want to say is, one thing that keeps us in the same in the same behaviors are triggers. And we talk about that. Sometimes we may be abstinent of a behavior. We're not in recovery of the behavior. We're not identifying it. We're not owning it. We're not putting strategies together to keep that thing from being active in our lives. What it is that we're doing is we're kind of ignoring it for now. You ain't bothering me. I'm not going to bother you. So therefore, it's an abstinence. That means it still has the power to come and be triggered out of the abstinence position. So if I'm not working on my anger, guess what? I may not have had an anger episode for a whole year, but now this anger episode has come and now it's triggered my anger, and I'm just blah, 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 I'm just blowing up. So one thing we want to do is prevent triggers when we can. Now, this, of course, we have to be mindful of our recovery. We have to be mindful of our recovery. So we want to prevent triggers whenever we can. So if going over so-and-so's house, that's why I was saying, please think about it. Think about some of those cycles and what triggers your cycle. If you do this, what's directly a direct response of events that's going to happen? History tells us all, our history. When I go over here, I may have the mindset that I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go over here. I'm not going to kiss him. I'm not going to pick up. I'm not going to do this. And we have all good intentions. But as a good friend of mine always say, good intentions pave the road to hell. So guess what? I don't want to just rely on my good intentions. I want to rely on my recovery step. I want to be smart and not strong. I'm going to go over there. I'm going to be strong. I'm not going to do that. So one of the things we have to do is accept that regardless of our strength, I have to be smart and not do some of the things and not do some of those things that I would have normally have done because it's not healthy for me. So one of the things that I want to do is prevent triggers. So if I can prevent triggers, I heard someone say, I don't go to El Torito's anymore. I heard another one say, I don't do this anymore at a certain part of night, day, or whatnot. So we find out what triggers us. So we want to be mindful of that, and so we also want to utilize our stop thought technique. If you'll remember, we talked about how to stop the thought and when. Remember the cycle. Thought. The first part, I'm speed talking because we only have a few more minutes together. One of the things that I want you to understand is how the thought stopping technique works, because there's a cycle. Remember, I talked about breaking patterns, breaking cycles. There's a cycle that happens in our brain and it gets kicked off by the trigger. So let's say there's a trigger. You're walking down the street, life is good, but all of a sudden you're triggered by something that you see, something you hear, somebody that comes about, by a taste in your mouth, by a time of day, by a car that went by. You're triggered to a thought. You're triggered to a thought. You know how maybe the smell of someone's cologne that you haven't been with in years, but you smell a certain cologne just by a passerby that passed you by, and all of a sudden, not that you tried to remember, but all of a sudden there's a recollection of old Jody. and you ain't seen old Jody nor thought about Jody in 20 years. But guess what? The smell of that cologne triggered a thing, or the sound of an old song triggered a feeling inside of you, whether it was a feeling of happiness or whether it's a feeling of grief. But this is how brain association works. So therefore, I have to be mindful what my triggers are so I can do something about it. But I also have to prevent triggers from happening when I know what they are. But sometimes triggers just happen. You're just walking down the street, they're unpreventable. The trigger just happened. So what happens with the trigger, it provokes a thought, and then your body, your brain, your emotional self has a response, whether a craving occurs or whether a desire to go and do some of your old unhealthy behaviors occur. Right then and there, it's now been presented to the helm. It's been presented to the consciousness. It's been presented that maybe you should call so-and-so. It's been presented that, oh, maybe I should do this. It's been presented to the helm. And now here's a relapse. Here's a relapse of behavior. So the thought stopping technique, it happens at the thought. So when the trigger happens and it triggers the thought, before that thought goes into the response, before it goes into the craving, before it goes into that desire, whatever your response, your body, your emotional response is, before it goes to that, I need to stop it at the thought. So how can I stop it at the thought? We could do some relaxation exercises, some breathing exercises. I can pick up the phone and call someone, whether it's that person that you say, hey, I need you to help redirect me. This trigger has been exposed and I'm thinking about doing blah, 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 whatever it is. And then, no, I don't want to do that. So I've called you, whether it's that support person or just that person that you want to call to get your mind off of things. Hey, Sally, how you doing? Just thought about you. How the kids doing? You know, something to kind of get your mind off of things. You know, maybe it's the snapping. We talked about the rubber band, and I had an example of a band. It's not in my reach right now, that we can put on our arm. And when that thought comes up, you just snap it and say no, because you're now giving your brain a new association. So I'm not going to be thinking about, oh, how wonderful that abusive relationship was because I've smelled that old cologne. And it always take you right to the good times. It don't take you to the bad times unless it was a terrible memory. But it take you to the good times, like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So you're going to snap that band and pop yourself and say no. You're going to retrain that brain, because remember, that's what we're talking about, resetting the brain. Sometimes you may want to get yourself into safety so that you can go and journal, because as we go and journal about things, we can start processing that stuff out. But journaling is not always available when we're in that right now, here and now action. So also scheduling your time. Scheduling your time. You guys get your planners, your to-do list together. If you don't do nothing but take a single sheet of paper and say, you know what, I'm going to write on here today what I'm going to do. Fold it in fours, fold it in fours and hey, Monday, Tuesday, open it up with Wednesday and Thursday, whatever it is. Just try to get yourself a schedule. Preoccupy yourself in a healthiness and healthy fitness. Get your brain and your body and your emotions together in fitness. So now I have an aspiration of what I'm going to do that's going to help me physically, me achieving my goals, whether you achieve the whole list or not. Me achieving my goals give me a good internal feeling of productivity. If I don't achieve it all, I'm excited about what I have done. So it gives me that internal and that external wellness, and I'm satisfying my goals. I'm doing something productive. I'm moving and advancing. So therefore, get your planners. 2023 is coming up. Don't let this year come up and you don't have a planner. I would show you mine, but it's being used right now. But get your planner so that you can write down your appointments, even some of your goals and some things that you need to do in order to complete those goals. Write down some promises that God has made you you. So, and start writing down as you see them come to pass, encouraging yourself, being grateful rather than sometimes we can become complacent and complaining. So we want to be mindful of those things. So especially when we come into a relapse situation, we have some things in place already. We're not trying to dig ourselves out the grave. We're not trying to dig ourselves out the hole, but we're trying to now continue to walk in the healthiness. Because remember, if you already healthy, I like how they say prevention is better than cure. If my life is moving in a way of positivity and healthiness, then guess what? I'm walking in prevention from those downfalls in life that maybe I was doing so reoccurringly before. But now, if I do make a fall, I'm surrounded with support and healthiness and techniques and ways to rescue myself. So I want to ask you guys that on the line today, what are you going to do when your relapse situations come about, when the situation comes about that opens the door for the violation of what you're doing today? What are you going to do? In our last 5 minutes on the line, what is something you're going to do to rescue yourself and continue in this way of life? Go ahead, unmute your phone and share.
Sister Lupe here. First of all, always, everywhere you go, whenever, I think that we kind of know when we're about to go to a dangerous place.
Yes.
And if we have to go, stay prayed up, pray about it, and ask God for strength. I realize that I'm not as strong as I think I am, and I definitely have to try my best to keep away from people, places, and things. And if I can't, then I really need to just have that relationship with God and have that relationship with someone, a sponsor, a mentor, a best friend that's, basically gonna keep you on the phone. Sometimes it's necessary. I've had relapse mode where I was on the phone with somebody until that too short pass,
Yes. Yes.
So you definitely having those type of friendships.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen. I love that. Thank you, Sister Lupe. Who's next? When those relapse situations come about, what you gonna do? Go ahead, Miss Susu.
I have to say about it, as Sister Louie say, and like I say, get with your confidant, get with your confidant, and for me not to be so available.
Awesome. Get with your confidants, your support systems. Perfect. What about you, Miss Bianca?
Stay connected.
Stay connected. Awesome. Excellent. You guys are amazing. And you know what? Do something different. Just don't do what you've been doing. Do something different. Like I say, you can go and do anything that you can do. Just do something different and rescue yourself. You got to go kiss a frog. Go find a frog. Put yourself on a frog hunt to occupy your mind till you can get out of that relapse situation and get into safety. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. I love it. I love it. And I loved it. What I'm hearing in you guys' voice, that's just healthiness, not just a good day, but I'm having a good day, but I'm building so that I can have a good life, because days make life. Days make weeks, and weeks make months, months make years, years make decades, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So guess what? If I learn to take every day of my life and make it something not just artificially or the external healthy or joyful, but if I learn what's the best method to go by, to live by, what's the best ingredients needed for me to live my optimum life, then guess what? I can have a satisfying life despite my situation. Yes, we're not talking about having happy days every day. That would be beautiful, but that's not possible. Bad days come, as we say. We experience things that are not so pleasant in a day, but it's no reason, regardless to what it is, it's no reason for us to go back to live in the old unhealthy lifestyle that we were living. We can overcome it. We can recover, and we can live life, and we can live free. God bless you guys. I love you guys. Continue to live free before the Lord and enjoy these good days. He said, if you want to live life and enjoy good days, we got to remember that there's principles that we have to follow. And let's find out how those principles fit like a puzzle in our life, so that we can experience the joy that God has intended for us. So God bless each and every one of you. Till tomorrow, live free, guys. God bless you.